How's everybody today? Pete here with another episode of What Pink Salmon Want. So today we're not going to tie anything crazy new. We're going to work on some techniques to enhance and clarify a bit with your flash flies, specifically Kreelex. And I know all of you have been doing very well getting your boxes ready for pink salmon season. So if you need some inspiration, there you go. I've been diligently working on these bugs, getting ready for this fun season here in about 6 weeks. So if you're interested in doing the same, grab your tools, grab your vise. Let's get ready to have some fun. In the vise today, we do have the Ahrex NS110 in a size 2. For the bead, this is the gritty tungsten bead, size 7/32 in pink, also known as 5.5 millimeter. And then I've got 6 wraps of 0.025 lead-free wire behind that bead. And we're going to lock all that into place so we don't have any movement in the front portion of our fly. A little 6/0 thread here in pink to get us started. 140 would be great. And whatever you've got handy is probably just right. So don't freak out about having the exact stuff all the time. Just get on the vise, start tying. You never know. All right, as far as I'm going to give myself an indicator here on where I want this tail to be tied in, just going right above that hook barb, and then come up a few wraps here, so I'm not worried about that hook point cutting my thread. So in the world of Kreelex flies, this one's truly going to be very, very close to the real deal, the OG pattern. And let's start off with some pink Kreelex. Now this is Fish Flash Kreelex from Montana Fly Company. And if you're wondering what this flash really does, again, this to me sits right between Crystal Flash and Flashaboo. So you've got a little kink in there reminiscent of some Crystal Flash, which of course allows a different glint of light and refraction and reflection, but it also prevents full collapse, meaning as this stuff gets squished down in the stripping portion of your fishing, it still has some bounce and it'll come back to life and maintain some profile. Whereas when you get into Flashaboo, that's not always the case. Flashaboo tends to lay down on itself and stay pretty slick back. So again, this is sort of where those two worlds collide, and I think it's an amazing, amazing product. Maybe a little bit underutilized actually. So all I've done is veil some of this Kreelex pink over my thread. Now I'll get that started on the top. So if you leave it as it is, of course you get this big explosion of pink, but we're going to tie down now to where our indicator was, control those fibers ever so slightly, and now you see we've got a tamed, beautiful tail, nothing to it. And don't be shy, just because you're tying a Kreelex or a flash fly doesn't mean you have to stick with the same flash. By all means, incorporate something else in there. Make it yours, make it fun. If you like the certain way a flash moves on top but not underneath, well then just use it on the top, switch it out for something else in the bottom side. Let's give this guy a little body. This is just Cactus Chenille, size large, and this is fluorescent fuchsia. So I'm going to just tie that little section in there that I trimmed out. It is pretty tough on Cactus Chenille. You don't have to trim out very much to expose that core. I just like to keep it a little bit cleaner on that underbody is all. So you do you. As we wrap this, I do, and this might just be me, but I see a kerf or a way that the fibers come off of that core. And so I always want to wrap so that those are flowing to the back. I know it seems a little bit ridiculous with a pre-twisted chenille, but again, it's what I see. And so I want it to flow a certain way, have a very specific feel. It could be an OCD thing by all means, but again, it's what makes me happy on the vise. And when I go to fish those flies, I know they're tied the way I want them tied. And so I'm going to fish them with confidence. And believe me, that makes a big difference. So tie this off. Get one wrap in front there, so I don't have to wonder where my thread is, and then we can trim out that Cactus Chenille. And at this point, you already have a pretty successful fly, especially when you're thinking in terms of pink salmon. This would get her done, but we're not going to call it good just yet. Let's make this thing really special. So at this point, well, I talked about getting a little bit better with the flash work here. So we've got 3 more elements to add in. They're all Kreelex, just different colors. What I want to do now is get into the pearl. And this is going to pick up some of the pink, of course, off of the body and everything else. So it's going to have a lot of range of pink reflection going on. So on this underside or ventral side, I'm simply going to veil a section of pearl Kreelex over the thread, flatten it. I think this is where a lot of us miss here. If you flatten this, now you can kind of spread out that flash. And why does this matter? Well, when I bring this up to the hook or to the shank, if I just leave it in one little chunk, it's just going to lay directly on the bottom side. And that's okay. It's just a little bit more work as we get into it, because now I want to lift everything, let it drop on its own. And now I can see, all right, I need this flash to meet halfway around this hook shank. And on your side, it looks like it'll grab to right about that midway point, and just a little shimmy on my end, and it'll do the same on this side. Now we pull all that back and make sure it doesn't just stay in a line. We want that sort of spread or smeared on the bottom half of this fly. And then we get our thread involved here and really make sure it's solidified. So now I've got fibers reaching halfway up the side, if you will, of the fly on both sides. And that's what we want. So now when I bring all this goodness back, it's easier said than done sometimes on a flash fly, but we want all those fibers coming back at once. And then I'll simply come in and make an angled cut here. I'm not going to come straight up and wop these off. I want an angled cut so that these fibers sort of blend in with that tail. Don't reach all the way back necessarily, but at least halfway, if not 2/3 of the way back. That's what we are looking for right there. Call that good. Now when we go to our next color, which will be our first dorsal layer, we're going to go silver. So now it's just a little bit more of matching a lighter underbody to a slightly darker mid body and maybe even darker top portion of that dorsal side. So again, simply veil this over your thread, and now just mash it with your fingertips so that it's a little bit flatter. And for me, this also helps keep a better orientation of top and bottom of that veil. And so I can really keep it flat, so you see how wide it can be there, or I can really make it narrow depending on the application. So that offhand grasp, little pinch or grasp is very key here in tying these sort of flash flies that still look nice, right? You get some flash flies that just go, ooh, that's very bright, but how does it look in the water? And well, it looks like a ball of flash. I'm not gonna eat that, so I don't expect the fish to go, woo, that's something I want to put in my mouth. Same thing here. I'm looking at an angle, and then maybe even shifting my scissors as I go down. And I don't want a real straight, even cut. That's the whole point there. And these little fibers that want to play off to the side, get them in line, trim if you need to, voila. So now pull everybody back here. There's that one fiber, always. And yes, if you had some water on your tying desk, that would make this process much easier. So really mash those fibers down now. This is looking pretty hot. So of course this wouldn't be a fly for pinks without a little more pink. We only have three elements so far. So going back to that pink Kreelex, this is really going to bring it all together as far as making that fly look purposeful and it makes sense and all that good stuff. This really brings it all home. So now again, I've got that flattened portion on top, but I'm not using as much flash, nor am I going to let it spread around as much this time. I just want to lay that pink on there nice as could be and have a true dorsal mark there of hot pink. There we go. Same deal though. Gonna lift all these at once and then make that angle cut. As you can see, it's just a little bit shorter already than our silver, so there's nothing to it. Just get in there, get a little angle on those backside fibers like so. I'm liking this fly. I think the fish are going to absolutely murder this thing. All right, let's get a nice, very solid, very tidy thread head behind that bead there. And now let's get this bad boy whip finished here. We will be ready for some eyeballs. All right, there's our whip finish. And of course, if you're not adding eyes at this point, go ahead and come in and add some head cement. But we are going to add some eyes, but I do want to get this bad boy wet real quickly just to show you what the collapsed or wetted version will look like. And there we have it. Not too shabby. Very pink, very flashy sort of bait fish pattern there. As you can see, just nothing to it, deadly. Now for some eyes, I just have some generic 4mm, and these happen to be silver with a little bit of a black pupil, but whatever you have is going to be great. And yes, by all means, some 6mm would probably do just fine. Let's get in here, a little dab of Superglue Gel, and then I can just pop each one of these on. One per side, thank you very much, and voila. So you see that little bit of extra space that we had there for that thread neck, if you will, behind the bead, just so happens to be the perfect little spot for these eyes, and I'm going to call that beautiful. So once this all is dry, I will be coming in with a little bit of some Loon thin resin, and I'll coat those eyes 2 times. Let it cure completely, and that thing will be going nowhere. And I don't care what eats it, it'll still stand up. So there you have it. Another Kreelex, this time in pink, silver, and pearl for pink salmon, but I can guarantee you trout would eat this, so would bass. So don't be shy. Tie a bunch of these, tie it in the colors that really make you happy and fit for the species you're trying to chase. And if you had fun with this one, by all means, please hit like, please hit subscribe. We will see you all on the water.